T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
That's right. You've tuned into another episode of Sports and Other Stuff where sometimes you're here and sometimes you're not, but tonight we're here. Today we'll have a AFC South preview. We'll talk about the Mannings and this ESPN deal, sports of yesteryear, and a new feature we're going to call it this.
What's happening with name, image, and likeness?
And in the other stuff department, something on French fries. But first, the AFC South in 2020 went like this. The Titans were 11-5. The Colts were 11-5. The Texans were 4-12. And the Jaguars were 1-15. T-Dog, take it away on the AFC South for 2021.
All right. Not that you all have to agree with me. You can dispute me on this. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up on this. So we're going to start at the bottom. I don't see, not that we might dispute who's at the top. I doubt we're going to dispute who's at the bottom. The Houston Texans. I'd say their strength is their linebacker core. Actually, if you look at their linebacker core, it's a pretty good linebacker core. You have Zach Cunningham, Christian Kirksey, who was added this offseason, and Whitney Merciless, who had a disappointing season last year, but overall has been a very good starter in the league. You can make a case for the running back core too. That's probably their other spot where they're good. But, I mean, their weakness, we kind of joked about it, I think, over the course of, these last few weeks, maybe in spots. That's a lot of things could win this award, but I would say it's the defensive line. They allowed 160 yards rushing per game, dead last in the league, and they were 27th in points allowed. So I think a lot of it starts up front, not to kill them and put it all on them, but pretty much. I predict them to go 2-15, wow. Maybe even worse than that. Maybe going for the coveted 0-17. First team to ever do that, possibly.
Wow.
Yeah, it's ugly down there, and you don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. You've got Culley coming in as coach. He's never been a head coach. It's just nasty to look at. They're not making any of the right moves. They got rid of Hopkins, which is, I still wonder about that. J.J. Watt leaving. I'm not that surprised. He's on the back end of his career. But, I'm actually a little bit more optimistic for them. I'm saying 5-12.
Oh, man.
You are giving them some wins. I'm going 0-17. I like T-Dog's idea on that. Wear the collar all year long. 0-17.
Yeah, really, if you look at their schedule, because that's how I do it. I do go through the schedule, and I was like, I almost have to give them wins because, when you go 0 and such, it's pretty hard. But it's in the real world possibility. It's bad. But someone who's not as bad, even though they did have the number one pick last year and they were the worst. Jacksonville Jaguars coming in at third, I think, in this division. I think their strength is mainly their wide receiver core. While none of these guys are superstars, they all have the potential to be that or have played at that level before. DJ Shark is probably their number one receiver. He's been in the league 3 years. He's flashed Pro Bowl traits. He's a big guy. He's 6'4". He's got speed. I just think some of the inconsistency at quarterback, he hasn't been allowed to show it in some injuries, but he has shown, particularly his second season, with 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. He has the potential to be, a star. And then Marvin Jones Jr., who, when he was with the Detroit Lions for 5 years, 4 out of those years, he had at least 900 yards or 9 touchdowns receiving. So he's a very good number 2, if not borderline kind of quasi number 1, low end number 1 receiver. And then Laviska Shenault, who was a rookie last year. As a rookie, he had 600 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. And he is, I don't know, he's like a Deebo Samuels. You can kind of use him in motion out of the backfield and stuff. Like, he has a lot of capabilities besides receiver. So I think that's the part. If you're a big fan of Trevor Lawrence, he could have a big year just based on the skill positions out wide for him. Their weakness, though, is their pass rush. They had just 18 sacks last year. Josh Allen, UK, played great his first year. He had 10.5 sacks, only had 2.5 last year. And their rookie that they drafted last year, Chason, he only had 1 sack. I have them going 4-13, and 2 of those wins come against the Texans. So,
again, I'm a little bit more optimistic than you, but I do think receiver quarterback combo is their strength, and defensively, man, that's nasty. I question the offensive line at this point, but we'll see how they stack up. I'm a little unsure of Urban Meyer. His history is bugging out when it gets tough. So we'll see. It's going to be tough all season for them, I still think. There'll be, right, against Texas, they should, clean up and at least show something. But they have some players on defense in the secondary that should be pretty good. Shaquille Griffin. But so again, I'm more optimistic than you. I think Jacksonville will go 6-11.
But wait a minute. Nobody mentioned Trevor Lawrence.
Well, I said it quarterback.
He did. Yeah, Luggs did say at quarterback.
It was under your breath or something.
I'm assuming it'll be Trevor Lawrence and not Tyrod.
All right. Is Trevor okay? Is this guy okay? Is he going to make it?
Who? Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah.
Are you just talking about some of the things that have been holding him out injury-wise?
Yeah, crazy stuff.
I think he's going to be okay. I think they're babying him just because, he is. The only reason Urban Meyer took this job is that he could coach Trevor Lawrence. That's the only reason he took this job. It's not like he loved Jacksonville, Florida. He's a big fan of the Cons or whatever. He wants to get involved in AEW wrestling with his son or whatever. It's nothing to do with that. It's all about Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. He is a special talent, kind of like what Luggs is alluding to. I just don't want to put him as a strength because we haven't seen him play. I'm not gonna say he's the next Peyton Manning mixed with the athleticism of John Elway. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, there's nothing that says let me go get that job at the smallest market in the NFL. And with no media coverage. That's a good one, Urban.
But Urban is an Anglophile, so he loves England, so that should be good enough for him. He'll get at least 1, maybe 2 trips a year. So
Luggs hit the point I was going to make. Yeah, we joked about them going to England. Maybe that's the other thing. Urban Meyer wants to live in London. He wants to.
That's his long life ambition. Hey, wait a minute. What about Charlie Strong? I didn't hear anybody mention that name. He's the defensive assistant coach or something.
Luggs kind of pointed it out. Their pass rush, I know I killed on their pass rush. They have some good talent. Like he said Griffin at corner, and then AJ Terrell at corner. And they have Miles Jack at linebacker. They have talent.
And also, they got Bud Dupree, UK talent.
No, actually, that's Titans. Titans have him.
Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, I'm looking at my wrong notes.
No, that's all right. But yeah, they have some talent, and it's not that I think Charlie Strong is. But like I said, when you have 18 sacks the year before,
yep.
And I think Josh Allen. I don't know if he was injured. I know he only played 13 games last year, but maybe he was injured. Maybe Chason, the light goes off, but they need both those guys because you really look at the rest of the roster, they're not getting pass rush from anywhere.
All right,
I don't think so.
Moving on, but Luggs did use the word of the day, Anglophile. Good job, Luggs. All right.
Yeah.
Love that.
That was Well, since Lugs brought up Bud Dupree, his new team, I have them finishing second in the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans. I think the strength of the team, similar to the Jaguars, are their wide receivers. A.J. Brown, in the short time he's been in the league, has played like a guy who has the potential to be a Hall of Famer down the road. And Julio Jones, who they were able to acquire in a trade, is going to be a Hall of Famer. And he still has something left in the gas tank. I know he's in his early 30s, but I still think he can play at a high level for probably at least 2 or 3 years if he stays healthy. And if they also acquired Josh Reynolds from the Rams, I mean, yeah, I believe he was a free agent. Even though he's not a big name, again, you look at all three of their wide receivers; they're all big guys, so they're gonna bully people, and obviously it's gonna help the running game because all of them are just big, stout wide receivers. So I think that's their strength. But also similar to the Jags, their weakness is the pass rush. They clocked in with only one more sack than the Jaguars last year with 19 sacks. Harold Landry needs to be the key. In 2019, he had 9 sacks. Well, the year 2020, he had 5.5. And Bud Dupree, the main reason they signed him is to help Landry, and hopefully he can come back from his ACL and be close to what he was prior to that tear, and that could help them big time. They lost Arthur Smith, their offensive coordinator. He's the head coach in Atlanta now. It is a big loss to just think you're going to fill in for a guy who coached them at such a high level on offense these last years, how they were so efficient in the red zone and in general. I think that their record drops a little bit. They were 11-5 last year. I have them going 10-7 and just missing the playoffs.
I'm less optimistic than you are about this one. I think Derrick Henry's taken too many shots. I'm not real pro on Ryan Tannehill. And you're right, their defense, even though Vrabel has always managed to cobble together a defense, I just don't see them doing it this year. I'm going with them 9-8, just barely over 500.
10-6 used to sound good, didn't it? You could win a division. 10-7 doesn't sound good anymore, does it?
No, it does not.
All right, 9-8, 10-7. All right, we'll see how that one shakes out, Vrabel.
It kind of like Lugs pointed out, like they have some intriguing pieces on their defense, but the problem is it's a lot of because their corners for the most part didn't play great last year, so they essentially added Janoris Jenkins and Caleb Farley, who was their first round draft pick. Caleb Farley, if you watch him and when he was playing in college for Virginia Tech, he's very talented, but this is a guy who hadn't entered their league yet, is 22 years old and already had like back surgery. So to be like, oh, we're gonna pencil him in and be a starter and play at a high level is like, I don't know. But Dupree's coming off an ACL, so it's just like the defense wasn't great last year. They made some interesting acquisitions, and if the dice rolls the right way, they could hit big, but I don't know. And I'm not saying I'm not killing them for it. You have to try to make chances to make your team better. I don't know how high reward to high risk it is. But anyway, speaking of a team that I think also went high risk with acquiring a quarterback that Lugs love, Carson Wentz, I have the Colts winning this division, being the only team to make the playoffs from this division. Their strength is their O-line. They have 3 great pillars in terms of their offensive line, and Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, and Brandon Smith. That helped them average 124 yards rushing per game last year. And they also acquired Eric Fisher, who had a torn Achilles last year. He might miss a few games at the beginning of the season, but he probably will be penciled in to be their left tackle once he gets healthy. So it's just adding to their strength to some level, I think. But again, I kind of set it off the top of for the Colts. Their weakness